Do you know about the poisonous garden? You may be surprised, how can a garden be poisonous? So we talk to you today about the poisonous garden. At the entrance to the garden is a huge black iron gate with two wings, a skull adorning the middle, and two bones or crossbones placed horizontally below it. It means only one thing: death is roaming here, beware. But why this sign? The answer will be found in the warning hanging on the door: plants here can cause death. Visitors are not scared. The slightest touch with any plant in the garden can cause burning sores on the skin. Eating the seemingly harmless fruit can kill the soul. Again, someone's sense of smell can be lost. It's not an ordinary botanical garden, it's a terrible poison garden. Unwick Gardens. Northumberland is a county in northern England. Unwick Gardens, located here, is one of the tourist attractions of the region. Around 600,000 guests flock every year to stroll through the 14-acre area of various plants, flower gardens, and fountains. In one part of this Unwick, there is a fenced garden. Its iron gates are always kept closed, allowing visitors to enter only with a guide. Before entering, they are reminded that no one should act like smelling a flower. This garden is called the Poison Garden, where various species of poisonous plants are kept. They can be fatal to humans. Behind the scenes. About the year 1995. 11th Duke of Northumberland dies. According to custom, his brother inherited the estate, becoming the 12th Duke. His wife, Lady Jane Percy, is titled Duchess of Northumberland. By succession, the Parseys took possession of the fort of Unwick and its surrounding gardens. The garden was in a state of disrepair. The new Duke asked his wife to decorate it. The Duchess later said she felt she could do very well if given time. As a result, he hired the famous landscape architect Jacques Wertz. With his son Peter, he designed the garden. Accordingly, the Unwick Gardens were cleared and planted with new trees, sculptures, fountains, and other attractions are made. It is said to have the largest collection of European trees in the UK. The Duchess's mind, however, was wandering. What is not? He thought, what if a separate herb garden? He started traveling to Europe to get ideas. His attitude changed when he arrived in Padua, Italy, where he found a Medici family garden. Who is this Medici? They were a very influential family in Italy from the 15th to the 18th century. From the business of banking, they became very influential in politics. It is said that they used various methods to eliminate rivals, one of which was to kill them completely using poison. The source of that poison was their own garden plants. The Duchess also saw the skull and crossbones sign on the Medici garden door. During a trip to Scotland, Lady Percy visits a ruined medieval hospital. Here he is told the story of anesthesia at that time. The patient who had to be amputated was made unconscious for about 2 to 3 days by drying clothes soaked in the juice of plants like opium, hemlock, etc., and then the operation. For this reason, these plants were cultivated in the garden adjacent to the hospital. The Duchess now withdraws from the plan for the herb garden. He felt he needed to do something different. He started gardening by arranging poisonous plants. After all the work was completed, Poison Garden started its journey in 2005. However, the idea behind the work of the Duchess is a little different. I think it's possible to get kids interested in plants this way, he says, as much as they're interested in knowing that aspirin comes from the bark of a plant, rather than how a plant can kill you. Notable members. There are about 100 trees in the Poison Garden. Many can be said. The most poisonous plant is probably the ricin, which is commonly known as the source of castor oil. According to Dean Smith, a tour guide at the garden, the Guinness Book of Worlds has identified it as the most poisonous plant in the world. There are also examples of its practical application. In 1978, anti-Soviet Bulgarian citizen Georgy Markov was assassinated by a KGB spy using ricin. Another tree is called by a slightly strange name, Angel's Trumpet. The whole plant is full of poison, a small part can cause temporary brain damage. Hallucinations occur, and in extreme cases the affected person may go into a coma. Lady Percy's favorite tree, however, belongs to our well-known Dutra class. There is another cheesy name, Shaitan or Bungshi, devil's trumpet. The Aztecs used to feed the unfortunate captives the flowers of this plant before tearing open their chests and extracting their hearts. In the Victorian era, the flowers were mixed with tea to stimulate the brain. A very famous tree is rhododendron. It can be found in many gardens. Eating any part of this plant can cause nervous system paralysis. Another type of plant worth mentioning is laburnum, which is the second most poisonous plant in the UK. Many people there plant this tree near the house for its beautiful yellow flowers. But so dangerous is this laburnum that it is said that if a branch of the tree breaks off and lies for months, and then an animal comes and picks it up in its mouth, there is very little chance of that animal surviving. Henbane, also known as a weed, causes vomiting, convulsions, hallucinations, etc. by eating its leaves or roots. The smell of flowers can make people faint if they get into the nose. Monkshood is also known as wolfsbane. This plant contains aconitine, which has the ability to damage nerves and the heart. In 2004, a Canadian actor named Andre Noble died after accidentally eating monkshood. In 2010, a woman in London was found guilty of murdering her ex-boyfriend. The public prosecutor proved that he mixed the powder of monkhood seeds in his lover's curry. There are many other types of poisonous plants in the poison garden. The roots of a species of plant called hellebore can block the heart, and its juice causes ulcers. The hemlock sap used to kill Socrates can also be found here. Plants used as drugs like cannabis, poppy, cocaine, etc. are also cultivated here. For these, however, a separate government license is required, and at the end of the year all the trees of that year have to be destroyed.